And then there's like the fear as an actor, the actor fear of just being caught looking like silly and like you don't know what you're doing. So that fear kind of helped the motivation of the character. Like,
Yes.
well, am I going to look like a jackass?
Hello, I'm Russ Milheim from The Direct. Congratulations on the movie.
Thanks, Russ. Thank you.
Of course. You know, the movie's obviously about killer coyotes.
Yes.
What was it like? Like, what did you, on the day, what did you work from, like, across from? Because obviously they weren't there. And then how did you work to make that, what was that process of making it believable, authentic, and scary?
That's a good question.
It was mostly Colin saying, like, and then a coyote's coming, a coyote's coming. Okay, it's skulking across the room. And we'd be like, no, the other way. And it was pretty much that. We didn't have, like, a tennis ball or anything like that. It was just Colin shouting out.
And then there's like the fear as an actor, the actor fear of just being caught looking like silly and like you don't know what you're doing. So that fear kind of helped the motivation of the character. Like,
Yes.
well, am I going to look like a jackass?
Yeah.
And there were some puppets. We used some puppets.
That's true.
And oh man, I want to post this footage. There's some footage of Colin talking me through a coyote attack with our
you
wonderful
have to
first
post
AD,
this.
Philippe. Philippe was because it was a low budget movie, and so we didn't have someone do it. So Philippe, the first AD, was puppeteering this
Oh my goodness.
hand puppet, and
It was the last day of filming as well, to be fair.
and so I was a little tired, but I was also like, it was one of those moments you think, there's no way this is going to look good. This is going to just be ridiculous and like unintentionally funny, And like, I'm like writhing but tired and like, I know I'm in my head, it's so phony looking. And Colin sent me the footage. This is Colin's genius, is that the way he cut it and shot it was so frenetic that it looked good. But when you see it from a distance, like the B-roll footage, it's ridiculous.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it is
in a
horrifying.
whole other way.
Totally. As an actor, it's horrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was just like,
Oh.
okay, get off of me. I don't-
No, coyote, stop. Yeah.
Justin, last quick question for you. You were so good in Goosebumps.
Oh,
and I was a big
thanks,
fan
Russ.
of that.
Thanks.
I just wanted to ask you, with the season 1 ended on such a big cliffhanger, and then they
Right.
switched to an anthology. Was that a surprise to you? And
Yes.
like, what were some of those plans maybe that could happen?
I don't know what the plans in terms of the story were, but yeah, it was a surprise that it was just like, just kidding, another cast and story. Because but I had a blast. I mean, it was really fun. That character was fun because I watched Big a bunch of times, and I love Tom Hanks, and it felt like an evil Tom Hanks playing a 15-year-old kid who's really, so that was fun to get to play that part. But I don't know what the plans were.
Yeah, well,
I guess
you
they
so
plan
much.
on not having.
Never know.
Never again. Well, thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Russ.
and congratulations.
Thanks,
It's
Russ.
good meeting you guys. First question, coyotes, right? Like, when it comes to the actual coyotes, what was it like? How did you, what did everyone work across from on set?
Yeah.
And then what was the process of just making all of them believable, authentic, and scary?
Super challenging to wrap my head around. Early on in prep, when I realized the movie was going to go, I quickly learned from animal wranglers that coyotes are not like wolves. They're extremely timid creatures. And so the act of actually bringing one on set, never mind getting it to growl, is super challenging. And you'd have to the trainer would have to break the trust of the animal to do so, something that obviously no trainer is willing to do and not something that I wanted to do. So we built them. We had multiple puppets, hand puppets essentially, super hyper detailed that actors would interact with. And we had an animatronic on set that could be fought with, and then we used a huge CGI pipeline to basically fill in the rest, as well as some animals on set that resembled coyotes. So that was nice when we actually had the real animals on set, but it brings in a different element for sure.
Yeah. Last quick question for you. It was just announced you're on the Grave Encounters reboot.
Yes.
When does that start up production? When do you get to work on that?
I don't know, yeah. I can tell you how the notion of it coming to be came, but I don't know when it will start. Hopefully this next year for sure. But
Any
you know,
big teasers?
I had such a great time working with Justin on Coyotes and Kate as well that Justin had checked out the movie and really wanted to kind of take the reins on it as this iconic ghost hunter, and I think he'd be such a great choice to carry that character forward to a new generation of fans. And so my director that I co-directed the original Grave Encounters was immediately like, Justin would be so good. So we're hopeful that it can get some real momentum moving forward soon.
I look forward to that, and again, congratulations on Coyotes.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thanks.
It is a wild ride, needless to say.
It certainly is, yeah.
Well, my first question for you is, it's obviously about some killer coyotes, and they're not the nicest.
No. No, not at all.
What was it like filming across from them and like making them feel like authentic and believable, even though they probably weren't there?
They definitely were not. They definitely were not. And for me, it was a very different experience because I didn't work with anyone else in the film. I was just there for one day. So, thankfully, I've known Colin for a very long time, and Justin and Kate actually came to set that night. So with all of their collective ideas, they sort of talked me through the tone and sort of where they had been at while they were filming. And I had the most fun. Being the girl that dies at the beginning, you get to take a lot of big swings and kind of really make a splash, hopefully.
You get to set up the whole thing.
Yeah, and you get a great death. Yeah. So isn't that all you want in a horror movie?
Obviously, and you've lived the dream now.
Exactly.
I do want to really quickly ask you an unrelated question about Arrow.
Yes.
You're Mia.
Yes.
Have you had any conversation? Like, obviously, there's been a shift in the DCU and a change, and there's a whole new existence out there. Have you had any conversations about maybe being part of that world in any way?
I would love to. I keep trying to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a lot of friends that know James Gunn very well, and I love his work and huge respect. I would love to be a part of that universe. He's been changing a lot of things in the DC universe in very good ways, and if they want to, pivot with the Green Arrow, and Ezra's crossed over into our world, so I don't see why Mia can't cross over into theirs. Yeah. I have a suit already. Like, let's go.
Did
Give
you
me
keep
a call.
it?
No, they wouldn't let me. Oh. But you know what? If that means I get to end up in the DCU somewhere else, I'm happy to let it live in the warehouse where it is.
My first question is, the Coyotes themselves. Yeah. Obviously, they're not there on the day.
No.
So what was it like working, what did you actually work across from on the day? And then what was that process in working to make sure they were believable, authentic, and scary?
Yeah, that kind of challenged me. I was like, how am I going to pretend there's this giant, monster coyote when it's not really there? But, funny story, we actually were, there were these huge life-size versions, but they actually got taken up at the airport because they looked so real. So we ended up using these puppets, and it was kind of really cool actually. I was talking to this puppet. I was like blah blah blah, and it was really interesting. Yeah, it was cool how I had to make it come alive, and I just kind of envisioned in my head that there was a real monster there, and the Paul really was there.
Yeah. Well, for you, just throughout the whole process, right, of making this movie, what do you think was the most surprising challenge that you faced?
Well, the whole time I'm kind of creating this character of Chloe. She's like a rebellious teen. She doesn't like to show emotion, but I think there's multiple times where that has to come through, and there has to be some sort of emotion shown. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me, is finding those parts where she can show how, human she is, and how this is a real experience for her, that she can break this whole I'm a mean teenager act, Yeah.
What was it like working across from, what did you work across from, and then how did you make that believable and authentic and scary when, they're not actually killer coyotes ready to tear your throat out?
Yeah, that's kind of, something I've had a fair bit of practice with, doing a lot of horror films, and rarely do you have the monster, the alien, the coyote that you are actually supposed to be in great fear of in the room with you. It's often done in post, so I use it kind of depends on the scene, but yeah, in this case, I tended to imagine something else that was a little bit more terrifying to me and a little bit more. We were shooting. This is gonna sound. We were shooting in Colombia, and I imagined that we were being. We had a bunch of people, drug lords coming in. Okay, that sounds wrong, but you use what you have. Yeah.
Last question for you.
Oh my God.
What is the most surprising challenge you faced at any point while making this movie?
It was challenging on many levels because Colin and I have made 4 movies together, and this is our first film that we've made with our son, who's still a young toddler. So he came with us, and being a mom full-time all day and then shooting nights was the biggest challenge, and then the post-production was equally challenging because Colin was editing the film and I was scoring it, and we were carrying the load of being parents to our son, in all the minutes in between. So that was definitely the biggest challenge and the biggest reward to prove to ourselves that we could do that and still, be present with him.